Let it rip.
So here's a story you Matthew created in 2017 in February. It all started when we were getting shots. Not drug shot, well, kind of drug shots. Vaccines in our school in February 17th. We're grade 7s, just saying. Yeah, we're going to get right. Basically, me and Matthew created a story while we were waiting to get our vaccine. And it conceived of the book. So the start of the book was called The Coma. And basically, the coma is staged of Matthew Hurtado Broughton, the main character, which is Matthew, my friend. Yeah, friend. And basically, what? Bleh. Okay, so basically, it starts with the book, him going into a coma. And that's all. So, what he's having a coma about is he's, well, first of all, it's the remake of the old trailer, of the new trailer, inside the prequel, of the new sequel, of the game, inside a VR simulation, while getting shot in the gulag at Auschwitz, in the cinemas, directed by Michael Bay, in 9/11, while jumping off the Twin Towers, while landing on top of another bomber plane, while getting ricocheted into The Office, the American TV show. That was large, right?
Yeah.
And into Tacoma.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that's how it all started. So basically, after Matthew woke up from the coma of the really long title of the pre-sequel, the yada yada,
Hmm?
he decided to write a book of this genius thought. So he needed a co-producer and a publisher and a fan service person or thing, like social medias, that person. So he hired me, Jonathan. And keep in mind, the only reason why he went into a coma because he weighed 10 tons.
Oh.
Yeah. So he wanted to relate to his co-producer. So I apparently weigh 10 tons too. We also both had neck beards, which beards go down to the end of your neck. Uh, white scraggly hair, and we were sages of I don't know. So months into writing the book, we once into writing the book in Matthew's parents' garage. This, oh, not Matthew's parents' garage, a hotel, but not really a hotel. Matthew's parents' garage, basically. Ah, Matthew's grandmother, but not really grandmother because she's a prepubescent 10-year-old red-haired Necopara Lolly and Trap girl. And just saying Matthew's like 100 years old. He was born in like 2007.
Hmm?
I'm like 5. I'm also his father. Yeah. So basically, the Necopara grandmother was grandmother, but not really grandmother, was like, you need to pay your rent. He didn't pay his rent. So basically, Matt, John and Matthew started to get away. They created a beforehand countermeasure to keep all girls out, placing a sticky note on the front of the garage that said no girls allowed. But of course, it was a lolly trap and Necopara. Rules don't really apply. She's kind of gender fluid. And basically, they made their escape out the window. 10-ton John. There's McDonald's kid toys everywhere. Yep. Um,
Hmm.
they 10-ton gigatons is that thing with neckbeards squeezing through a 10 centimeter window of a garage into a boat with wheels on land, which was their escape boat. And also, the thing they were working on, they actually ran Pornhub at the same time in their mother's garage. They were actually creators of Pornhub. So yeah, this was actually in the story. This I forgot this part. I totally should have told you guys. Yeah, Eric,
Yeah.
are you amused?
Kind of.
You're kind of amused.
Yes.
So Matthew on the boat on wheels flew into the sky and space. You heard this thing before. Then Matthew used his laser eyes and I think he asked later blew up the freaking segment of the world, but then left Japan, like still there. Everything else is dead. USA is dead. Russia's dead. Japan's just there. Because Japan's Gucci. So basically, they flew off on their boat wheels with the mech thing that was really large. Yeah, it's a real large mech. And wherever they would meet them. But then the Nekopara, lolly, red-haired trap was still alive from this butt bomb thing. Explosion, laser. And so that's how my story began.
How did it end?
Well, sequel right now. Okay, so
Season 2.
this apparently was not a dream. It was actually a coma that was 1 second long. And basically, the Nekopara became a cyborg to compensate for the body parts she lost during the time when Matthew crushed her with her body while escaping. Apparently that happened. Yeah, this stupid part. Matthew and me have like completely different stories. This is my version. I don't remember anything except this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Matthew's version would be way better. But she devised the battle plan. She hired after she became a cyborg, right? We'll get into the details of that later, but she hired like 50 drunk sober people, like part of the Navy,
Yep.
to devise to conquer Japan because Japan was the only continent left. Yeah, continent, totally. Uh, to that remained in power because it was legit only the like the only country because Matthew's butt laser destroyed everything after they sailed off working on the book that never got finished because they sailed off. Well, it probably got finished, but basically, it happened.
Sick.
Okay, it happened. So the Nekopara Lolly devised a plan, but the plan was based off a crossword, a 50-letter crossword that was solved. So, okay, it was like this. They took the already devised plans, but they didn't have like new paper to actually print them out or like erasers. So
Mm-hmm.
they took the old plans, they stacked it upon the new plans because why not? Because I guess they could figure it out. So it ended up being they had naval units on land with wheels and planes with an MK-40 tank treads. And so what happened was to defeat the other warring nation or conquer and seize Japan,
Yes.
they marched into a capital of uh, of Japan, Chinatown, and
Mm-hmm.
they went in with boats. So they came in really slowly with the boats with wheels, It had naval power. But every time they shot, it took 75% of their gas, and the gas had to be hand pumped on a very small conveyor belt or something like that, like a lever, a pulley
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
Oh,
every time they
poison.
moved, they had to get out and start wheeling the battleship made of titanium. And so that didn't work to like conquer and intimidate like the capital. They
Mm-hmm.
sent in the bombers with tank threads and turrets. So what happened was the bombers came in, so the planes came in, and they crashed because they tried to put a tank turret on the bomber. And then cyborg Neko Pargo person came out and was like, let's just shoot everything. And then they took like a bomb. Well, not like bomb. They just like took everything
Mm-hmm.
and they destroyed like capital. And apparently, okay, I don't know how this happened, but apparently, uh, the butt lasers of Matthew that destroyed everything was actually emitted like a radioactive gas that turned everybody into zombies. So it was a zombie apocalypse, and there's two unions: the zombies, which were unsentient and they were just stupid, and there's the new like conquerors of the capital of Chinatown, of Japan, Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
The redneck lady with all the pilots dead because they got crushed by boats and planes. But what happened was the Nekos, or yeah, that's what they called the Neko lolly bitches, bitches, uh, went in.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, okay, let me explain the powers of the cyborg Nekopara lolly person. Basically, she has seven different eyes implanted into her arm, and then she has an Uzi, which is only effective in long range combat with a sniper scope. But every time you shoot, it launches you 300 miles backwards, and at the same time, you have to the Uzi is actually gas powered, so there's going to be a crank on your other hand, which disables all other six of your eyes. So you only have one eye plus the two eyes that you got like when you were born.
Mm-hmm.
So you take that and you give it a sniper rifle Uzi with unlimited ammo, but semi-automatic, and it's a sniper model that recoils you 300 miles backwards, and you got seven eyes, but six of them are non-existent because you're trying to wind up a crank that powers the gas-powered Uzi, which is the gun you're using.
Mm-hmm.
But with all seven eyes, you have 360 degrees. But since you're pumping things, it actually hurts your eyes if you actually use them. So it's like you don't use your eyes. So she took that semi-automatic infinite ammo Uzi that actually is the sniper scope that recoils you 300 miles backwards in the opposite direction, and she shot it at the zombies like for like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but after a while, John and Matthew they came back.
No way.
So this was what happened. John and Matthew were like, "This is the prologue. They seek the power that, and they found it. They found the power of rebirth, but only through incest relationships." So what happened was Matthew and John had the power to reborn themselves into another body. So what happened was, but you can only do that by procreating. So Matthew and John had to have sex.
Yes.
Yes. So, well, basically, that's all I remember. Or like they like shed themselves into like a different bodies. Well, in the process, they like have to die. They just kill themselves.
Mm.
So basically, Matthew Jar basically like 1,000, well, like 69 years old. That's like the average human lifespan right now. And basically, well, not 1,000, of course. Well, Matthew's 1,000. John's 69. But yeah, and basically they all they kill themselves to reborn themselves. They pass on all their knowledge into like the next generation of Johns and Matthews, the Almighty, and they're basically gods. They're saying so. Basically, so they went down and they were like, "Oh God, what's this stuff? Like, what's with the zombie apocalypse? Like just kill yourself." And they like they had like a great war, but then it was really short lived, like 2 seconds with the Nekos, which consisted of one person, the Neko cyborg, and then the zombies. They one shot the zombies with their powers. So basically, what happened was instead of like eradicating all their race, they actually turned them into these experimental things called Mongols. So these experimental things called Mongols had the power of all living organisms, and they were positioned in a place in Japan, and then Matthew and John separate into two different areas. So the passed down Johns, two
Mm-hmm.
different areas. So basically, Matthew recloaked. They had like a large argument and like they left, and then so John came to be known as the god of China, like Chinatown, the capital of Japan. So basically, that happened, and then the Mongol shifters. So now they're called Mongol shifters now. The zombies that got wrecked by Matthew and John, and they like inject them with uh, fluid, and they took the fluid and they stabbed them, and they turned Mongol shifters. So they're like not zombie anymore, but there's like large titans called Mongols, and they withdrew for a while.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They withdrew for a while, and then they started making like their own union, like the clan of the Mongol shifters. But then while that was happening, uh, John, uh, bigger John, Daddy John, started making the walls, the Great Wall of China.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's also a yakuza now. He's also a yakuza. So yeah, let's see. And
Yeah.
then so it's John, the freaking Asian clan. So he founded the Asian clan. So he was the first mafia of the Mongolia, first mafia boss of the Asian clan, which consisted of one person currently, God John. So
You're gonna
John's been
step on this, step on that, not see
and
that.
basically he started building walls, but then the Mongol shifters attacked him, and and in the span of building
You're gonna
walls,
step on that.
he gave birth to his son, Little John. So Little John was stupid. He was retarded. Basically,
Yes.
Little John was uh
Little.
Little John was in his house playing with his toys, and then the house started to rumble, and then the roof crashed on him. But then apparently, the only person that died. So the Asian clan consisted of two people, uh, God John and the Little John. And basically, God John got like wrecked. It's like destroyed, and it's like by like a block of dirt or something. Because the Mongol shifters, they started attacking the walls, and they breached the walls, and they started killing all the Asians that were not part of the Asian clan. And Little John was just there. It was like, oh my God, you destroyed the Asian clan basically because there's only two people. You killed my father or something like that. And he was like, I must journey out over the walls. Well, where the walls were before they were destroyed. So he went over the walls, and he went to the other side of like to the east where uh God Matthew was, he like told him news that like John is dead. And he was like, "Oh, I see." And then he clapped his hand and started showing the mantras. He's like, "I've been looking for special students like you, little one." He clapped his hands. Then he was like, he started like reciting the B movie script, or like, but every time he says B, he starts the entire Toy Story script. But every time the words boot and snake are said in conjunction, the entire Ice Age saga starts. So after that long chant, he was like, "You are ready, little John." He claps his hands like fist. He fists John like the power of the Mongol shifters. So John was like after like the Asian clan genocide, which is like his father, and he
Mhm.
like he journeyed to find a way to stop the Mongol shifters. So he was like, the only way to stop a Mongol shifter is to become a Mongol shifter. So he seeked out the power to, of the Mongol shifters, but in return he found the power to rival the gods, aka Matthew and John. But yeah, so resume back to present time. Uh, Buddhist Matthew claps his hands. Also, Matthew's a Buddhist. After he went his separate ways with John, he was like, "Yeah, I want to become like a Buddhist or something. Hymns and mantras." He was like that, and then
Mhm.
he built this like large temple. It was like, "Okay, John, I see you're building a wall. I go build this temple." Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like multiple tombs, and basically, in we'll get to this later, but inside the tomb was something special. But Matthew is currently passing down the power to rival the gods of the big hands to John. So basically, John's was like, "I am ready," and then he's like fists himself, and it's like his hands just start to grow like immensely big, and then like it's cuts to the next scene where it's like he whips and he like caused like multiple shockwaves, and it's like exploding multiple tight like Mongol shifters' heads, and he's like, "With this newfound power, I'll reinstate the world." And that's like the attack on Mongol arc like done.
Mhm.
But then the Nekos were back after their long slumber of the Nekopara Alali trap. The Neko, uh, she came back with her semi-automatic infinite ammo Uzi model. Uh, you know what Uzi is, right?
Yep.
Sniper rifle that recoiled 300 shots. Recoiled 300. Her back 300 miles away. And she came was like, "Yeah," and like Lil John, which was like now the tenth generation mafia boss of the Mongola Titan shifters, and it's like, "Lil John, I have an urgent message you need to tend to," or something like that. Matthew said, like Matthew's really old now, he's 5, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." So he's like, "Come with me, child," and then he like travels down into like the gates of the temple, and he finds the boat with wheels. And so he finds the boat with wheels. Also, that was a weird. Yeah, you still there?
Yeah.
So basically, they travel and like at like 2 miles per second, they travel to the Nekopara nation. Then the Nekos attacked. That's the Fire Nation attacked. Like
Mhm.
so basically, They came and then they wrecked everything. Yeah, what, like 2 seconds? Matthew with his boat with wheels, like headshot 3 people, and then like the entire genocide that went down in like the history books of like 1980 was made, that stating that Matthew wrecked everybody. And then that's the end of the OVA. But then, so basically, present time 2017 Matthew. Present time 2017 Matthew.
Yeah.
He goes to the shack, right? He goes to the shack, like the nut shack.
Yeah.
And he finds
It's the
inscribed on the
nutshell.
wall. He finds inscribed on the walls. Inscribed on the walls, a Buddhist monk with the hands of God. Like it shows like Matthew the Buddhist riding on his boat into battle with the Mongol shifters. Well, I mean not Mongol shifters, the Nekos. And it's like John in the background whipping like 3 Mongols, like the of distance. And it's like, this should be a story. And then Matthew had a seizure and then he had a coma. But then, so Matthew watched like really long-term memory loss, and I was like, yeah. So apparently, John was Arya's partner. He was in the Nukchat, with him all along, and that's why he woke up in like his room when he woke up in the coma and was like, I need a book. And John was actually there and was like, I'll help you because I'm a co-producer. But basically, what happened was John apparently had like a time machine and went back into like the dinosaur era, and then like recultivated everything, like turned it like to modern society, like the 19s. And then they started working on the book.
Damn.
This book was called The Coma, and you already know how that started, right?
Yep.
End of story. Rianne, unmute.
Yes.
Okay, that was so bad.
I low key, when you were saying the story, you actually made me feel tired. I'm so tired right now.